Here's the Trump. Blake talked about Trump at the news conference. It was a wide-ranging news conference, if you missed it, here in Manhattan at Trump Tower earlier today. But here's what he had specifically to say about Johnson. Watch.
Gary Johnson got 1% of the vote last time. I watched that whole situation. It was really pretty disgraceful. I think it's a total fringe deal. I think he's a fringe candidate. You want to know the truth. I look at him and I watch his motions and I watch what he says. I think that he is a fringe candidate. And your second, Weld, is, when you do a little research on that, I think it's not going to be a factor.
All right. To freethepeople.org founder Matt Kibbe, who stands maybe to get hurt by a libertarian ticket. And one thing we did talk about, whether it was Steve Forbes or anybody else today, Matt, is that it doesn't take much, right, as we all learned in the year 2000, to have an impact. Conventional wisdom is you put two Republican former governors on the ticket, it's going to hurt Donald Trump. But maybe the conventional wisdom is wrong? What do you think?
Oh, I think Gary Johnson has a real chance to draw both disaffected Republicans, but also disaffected Democrats, a lot of independents, constitutional conservatives, people that may not even vote if they're faced with these two wildly unpopular, very authoritarian choices in either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton.
Well, here's the thing I would say is that if you're hoping to be in this, or realistically in this, according to most analysts at least, to be a quote-unquote spoiler, and that you would take votes away from one candidate and elect the other, and if you're saying that's not going to happen, the net impact of a Gary Johnson candidacy might not be much then, right? Unless it prevents somebody from getting to 270 in the Electoral College.
Well, I think Gary Johnson's first goal is to get to 15% and qualify to be on the stage debating the other candidates, providing really a fundamentally different vision, a constitutionally limited government vision that's not represented in the other candidates. And I think it's unwise to look at the past when you understand the old rules of politics wouldn't allow for third parties to be successful, because the rules are changing, and we're seeing that. Just ask Eric Cantor about the old rule of politics. Just ask the Tea Party class of 2010. It is now the case that an insurgent candidate with an enthusiastic base of support can drive a message from the bottom up through social media without the approval of the two political parties.
Doesn't seem like, and I could be completely wrong on this, but from observing it, it doesn't seem like the year is this year for a candidate like a Gary Johnson, where you have so much populist outrage that is fueling Bernie Sanders and is fueling Donald Trump, that Governor Johnson could capitalize on that he's that type of candidate. He seems different. That if it was somebody else, maybe they'd have a better shot if that was their approach, no?
Well, he's a humble and in a lot of ways a quiet candidate.
Right.
But libertarianism is fundamentally objecting to the kind of big government collusion with big business.
Right.
Too much war, too much crony capitalism. I think there's a populist strain in it, and if people are looking for a serious person that wants to dismantle some of the Washington machine, again, there's only one choice on that stage if Gary Johnson makes it.
Okay, so explain to me, before we let you go, how he takes, if he takes any votes away from anyone, how he takes from both sides. Because, again, to go back to my first point, you do have, and we're looking at them now, Weld is just out of the picture, but Weld and Johnson on this ticket, Johnson and Weld, both former Republican governors. So you would think, government, out of my business, I take away from a Republican candidate. Why does he take votes away from Hillary Clinton?
Well, look at what's going on with Bernie Sanders supporters. They're now discovering how top-down and exclusive the Democratic Party rules are. They feel disaffected. They've rallied against Wall Street cronyism. They've rallied against mass incarceration. They've gotten very fired up about the Federal Reserve and a lot of issues that on a very one-inch deep kind of level are the same things that libertarians are upset about. The only difference is our solution is less government involvement.
Well, we'll have the two of them on, or Neil will, tomorrow to speak of themselves. Matt, thank you very much for coming on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Matt Kibbe with us.